She faced chronic Lyme, neurological systems, and even an ALS diagnosis. But Carey Mencarini refused to accept decline. Her journey became a mission and a solution to help others reclaim their vitality through IV therapy, education, and empowerment. Welcome to WellWaveNOW, your portal for actionable wellness insights. We, Greg Rice, Dr. Bob Levine, and Tim Daniels, are your wellness catalysts committed to elevating your health, enhancing your functionality, and optimizing your performance at every life stage. WellWaveNOW, where timeless wisdom lights your wellness path. Today's guest is Carey Mencarini, a Lyme disease survivor, wellness entrepreneur, and founder of IV Lounge. After battling chronic Lyme, neurological symptoms, and even receiving an ALS diagnosis, Carey refused to accept decline. She found real healing through IV therapy and then built a wellness clinic to help others do the same. In today's discussion, you will hear how she reclaimed her health, what makes her IV therapy model different, how she works with people both locally and remotely, and what her book, The Vitality Solution, offers to anyone seeking a better way to heal. This is a conversation about possibility, innovation, and reclaiming your vitality. Stay with us.
So welcome to the show, Carey. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, let's uncover this and get the full picture here because, Carey, your health journey wasn't just one diagnosis, was it? It was a series of complex challenges that unfolded over time. So can we take us through that experience for you?
Correct. Yeah, so it basically started after the birth of my first son. That became a trigger that kind of started this cascade of health dysfunction. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at that time. I had some joint swelling and various pain and whatnot. Seemed classic of RA, but then as the years went on, the diagnoses and the illnesses became more severe, and to the point where, as you say, I was diagnosed with non-specific ALS in a wheelchair and on oxygen.
Well, Carey on this. First, you said that you kind of just lightly went over as the years went on. So, how many years was this till you got to had endured all these other things until you got the non-specific ALS diagnosis? And then was that diagnosis, do you believe that diagnosis was correct?
So it was probably in the span of about 15 years. 10 years being probably the most difficult and problematic, being given a lot of different, every diagnosis you can think of in the book, I was pretty much given. Ended up with Lyme disease and then ALS, which at the time it seemed to make sense. My muscles were shutting down, and it seemed classic of that condition, but I just couldn't accept that. I had, survived throat cancer. I had survived Lyme, and I wouldn't say I survived Lyme. Lyme just didn't take me down. So when I got the ALS diagnosis, at first I was devastated, and I thought, oh, this is how it's going to end after all this, going through different things and specialties and doctors and hospitals. But it's not my personality. And I had two young boys. I wasn't about to give up.
What do you mean by non-specific too? Is it just that they couldn't really get specific?
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of a garbage can diagnosis.
Okay.
You fit all the symptomology of ALS. There's no other reason, they couldn't say it was my Lyme disease because my Lyme doctor, who was one of the best in the country, said he couldn't do anything for me and that my muscle shutting down wasn't classic Lyme. And so that's when I went to my neurologist, expecting hope, expecting, like some kind of answer for this. And he basically told my husband to find a nursing home for me, call EMS every time I had a seizure, or choked or whatnot, because, as I said, all my muscles were shutting down. So everything took energy. It's amazing what takes energy. All the functions in your body, and it's just, yeah.
What was it?
Surreal.
I mean, getting that diagnosis of non-specific ALS, was it more physical or mental for you at that point in time?
Um, that one diagnosis was kind of a mixed bag. I had received a lot of dire diagnoses and mentally didn't have an issue with any of them. But when we got to the end of what looked like the road and got this diagnosis, it took me back a little bit. I will say mentally, I felt you feel this sudden urge of panic, like, okay, I have to take care of everybody. I had to go home, get things in order. So I did that for the first week. My husband and I were kind of in this hidden grief and dealing with it. And then once we got through that first week, I said, you know what? Look, this is not how I just can't accept this. Non-specific to me is like any other garbage can diagnosis I've been given. When they don't know what to tell you, this is what, it just didn't make sense to
Non-specific.
me.
Yeah, really. Yeah, crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
your path is just remarkable. I'm anxious to hear more.
It's a long story that goes on and on. So I'll try to make things very short for those who want to hear it all. But yeah.
What? So now we had Lyme disease. You said you had throat cancer. You had not diagnosed with non-specific ALS. But I think you also mentioned one time that did you have a brain injury as well during this time?
Yeah, so prior to getting sick, I had a severe brain trauma. I lost my speech, memory, and various things. Came back from that. I was actually working as a medical assistant in a brain rehab clinic at the time, which was rather interesting to then become a patient of that. But then I some of my illnesses were encephalitis, meningitis twice. So I had various brain insults, three different head traumas. So I've had an interesting medical
Where did the
journey.
head traumas come from? How did you get the head traumas?
I had a boating accident. Um, I was kneeboarding. The board hit the top of my head, knocked me out, which is where we think the Chiari, which we can
Oh yeah,
talk
we
about
haven't talked
later,
about the tiara.
happened.
So you got to throw. So come on, throw this piece into the recipe too. So what is this tiara stuff?
Yeah, so backing up to the ALS, the Chiari was discovered during my multiple diagnoses and going to different neurologists. I had a brain MRI 4 years prior to being diagnosed with non-specific ALS that showed that I had a mild Chiari malformation, which
And
is where this
what is that?
so
What is
that's where the brain, for lack of better terminology, cerebellum protrudes through the cranial opening at the base of the skull and blocks your cerebral spinal fluid. And when that happens, cells start to die, things start to die. And that's what was happening to me was I had actually an anatomical dysfunction, in addition to all the microbial insults that I was facing at the time.
Wow.
So
So with this, what did with this multiple diagnosis, I hate to even call them multiple diagnosis, let's say it's plethora of problems that you had, Carey. How are you being treated initially?
how was I being treated at the time?
Yes.
I was told that I was a middle-aged crazy woman for the most part. And I was given various meds, which tried to appease every specialist I went to. I would try the medication. I would do the 3 days of psychological testing. I would do, just to check off the box and say, look, this isn't what it is. I'm telling you, it's something else. But I was a type A driven personality, and they just thought I was stressed out mom that, was running kids around, and it was in my head. So it was definitely in my head, but
Always in the head. I mean, no matter
as
what,
always.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
got to be
Were
the head
you able
component.
were you able to trace back to where you got Lyme disease?
No, no. I grew up in the foothills. I was a tomboy growing up. I pulled ticks off my dog all the time. Um, I had mono at 14. And so we think back, it goes back to maybe when I was 14. But as we know with Lyme or just about anything, you need a trigger sometimes. And I had a multitude of triggers that kind of led me into dysfunction.
And so you mentioned the foothills there. Were those the foothills of the Smoky Ridge Mountains, or where? Foothills where, Carey?
Northern California,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah. So we're on the West Coast and we're dealing with Lyme just like the East Coast.
East Coast.
And this
Wow.
is, people don't understand that still today. There's Lyme everywhere,
So I brought that up because we did just come off of the very first opening camping weekend of the summer, right? And
right?
want to bring awareness to everybody that has just gotten back from their camping trip. Check everywhere, check everything. Make sure you didn't pick up a tick while you're out camping.
Absolutely.
So we've set the stage now with all these challenges you have, but before we move on, and you did mention one time that you were in a wheelchair, and when you got the non-specific ALS, you went home and tried to get your things in order for your family. But give a little more description of, at the worst or even at the best of those times, what was life like for you?
Well, at the time I was relying on everybody for everything. Energy, every part of your body uses energy. If you laugh, you use energy. If you talk, you use energy. So I was really kind of on, I mean, I liken it to Weight Watchers when you're counting calories. I counted every action and everything I did. So for me, what was most important was saving my little bit of energy for making lunches for the kids, going to sporting events if I could. I couldn't always. And getting dressed. Getting dressed was a task. Eating wasn't really, I had people making food for me, shopping for me. My husband tried working part-time so that he could do things, but I really had a very close-knit group of women that helped me function still as a mom so that I could do daily tasks. But, every day was a challenge. It was a challenge.
How long do you think you went without any real answers? I mean, you alluded to it earlier that you would try everything that was, prescribed. You would try everything that was prescribed, but you wouldn't necessarily you still knew that there was something lacking, something was missing. So how long did that time go by that you were trying to figure this out?
I would say the better part of 10 years.
Wow.
And every year my health would decline a little more and a little more.
Did you have any thoughts, depressive kinds of thoughts? I'm just wondering because the road you were on was just such a rough road. My gosh.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was happy, but I wasn't depressed. I was always hopeful. I tried to not focus on my circumstance. I tried to focus on my faith first. My boys.
And your future,
It's
maybe.
hard to talk about. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. If you focus on your circumstance, it will take you in like a black hole. And so that's always kind of my advice to people when they're going through stuff. It's like, don't focus on the challenge, focus on your goal, focus on the people around you, your faith, focus on anything but how you feel.
And what was your faith, Carey? What'd you place your faith in?
God, I just, through miraculous divine intervention, he placed angels around me constantly. So that just kept me going on the days that I was really down. And it's not to say, in the darkest times, I prayed for death some days. I really did. I mean, you have those days. We're human. And sometimes you're kind of tired of being in pain all the time and not getting answers and making people feel like you're crazy. Um,
That's the thing that bothers me the most is when we think whoever it is telling the patient or the person that they're crazy, it's all in their head. They don't realize that what's going on is real. And it's just
right.
your path is just incredible. One of the most challenging ones I've ever heard, actually.
Well, I don't know if I should
Congratulations.
say thank you or
Congratulations. Well, here
it
you
is what
are.
it is. Yeah.
Here you are. This is fantastic where you are now.
Yeah. Divine intervention for sure.
Now, so I said you mentioned that again. I'm going to probe you a little bit on this one. So there are people believe there are many gods out there. There's Allah, there's the Indian gods, there's the Christian God, Jehovah. So what was it for you, Carey?
I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ, and but I don't think, I don't try to put religion in a box. It's like what, I mean, that's my God,
Mhm.
but there are many, many, whatever, whatever your faith is, it really doesn't matter. It's all about not focusing on your circumstance and believing in a higher power and a purpose. There was a purpose. I always felt deep down there was purpose in my suffering.
Could you explain
Even
to me by that? Like, what do you feel your purpose, aside from sharing your experience with everybody who's got health challenges, would that be your purpose, or is there even more to it than that?
it was even when I was on the journey, I felt I was placed in hospital rooms with people who needed to have hope, needed to, I'll never forget, I was placed in during my encephalitis. I was with a woman who was constantly throwing up. And for me, I like, if I hear throwing up, I was the worst parent ever. I could not handle it. I just would be right next to my son throwing up. So to be in a room with a woman, at first I thought it was torture. I had encephalitis, I had constant headache, um, and was in a lot of pain, and I had to hear her retching all the time.
Uh,
But something, I mean, again, divine intervention just kind of said, look, this, the fact that you're in bed with this, it's not about you. It's about the woman you're next to. You need to talk to her. You need to, I listen to kind of the Holy Spirit talk to me, and it is very audible at times, almost so much so I can't deny it. And this was one of those times where it was, yeah, yes, you're sick, but it has nothing to do with you. You are here temporarily because she needs somebody. She needs some hope, and that became a friendship that I still have today.
Great.
Um,
Yeah, I think that is sometimes, a lot of times it is a still small voice, but it has been it can be audible as well to hear, and you heard it. I think the other aspect is just as you said, is my thinking and my belief is, I don't think God ever puts these things on us, but that said, He can use it and does use it and use it to help others and go through that. So I think
Absolutely.
you responded to that call and made it happen. Now, we've kind of talked about your pain and misery here for about a half hour, probably time to move on a little bit here and say, when did light start to come through for you? You'd had your faith and that kept you grounded. You stayed with your family, you gave it out. But now, clearly now you can talk, you can move, you can walk. You can help Dr. Bob do all those things now. So when did this start to the turn for you and how?
So initially, it came with the brain surgery that I had when they removed a portion of my skull and which allowed fluid to flow again, and I got feeling back in my legs and could breathe on my own the very next day. It was incredible. So that was the initial, okay, I can do this. Now I can go deal with the microbial insults that I had going on with Lyme disease because we never were successful with treating the Lyme, and I was still dealing with all of that, um, along with the co-infections. So then I was able to go down to Mexico and have this fairly new treatment where they give you a cocktail of antibiotics while you are under anesthesia in a hyperthermia tent, basically. The only thing sticking out is your head, and they heat up your body to, I think 108 was what I got up to. I think 109, I had blisters
wow.
at some point. But they discovered that when you heat the body up, it drives the, bugs into the bloodstream where they can be treated. So it gets them out of the bone, gets them out of the brain, gets them, free floating so you can kill them. Um, and when I came out of that, my husband said it looked like the light in my eyes came back. He said it looked like a light bulb just turned on, and that's exactly how it felt. I felt awake for the first time in years. I didn't even realize how bad.
So how'd you find, people always surprised. We have a lot of people on and as our wellness heroes, and there's a common theme that they keep looking, they find the resources. But how, I think people need to understand how you found this resource, what kept you looking, how did you verify that this was something that should be tried?
Well, I was kind of desperate, like most people who are sick are, and I was still trying different alternative holistic therapies. And I had by chance gone to an iridologist, so somebody who reads the eye, and various aspects of that. I wasn't, it was kind of one of those things I was like, oh, I don't know, could it work? But again, willing to try anything. I went to this woman, and it was through this contact. I mean, I had some success with what some of the stuff we tried, but my real success came from the connection with her and her referral to the Santa Vive Medical Institute. Um, and I did a little research. It seemed legitimate. It was founded by USANA's, the vitamin supplement USANA, the president. He actually founded the institute, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Were you looking just for comfort to get through the day, or were you actually looking for a cure?
I wanted a cure. I wanted to get to the root cause. I wanted to get rid of whatever was going on
Yeah.
and interrupting my life. So yeah, no, I could care less about my discomfort. I had grown, I'd grown used to discomfort. That didn't bother me at all. It was, I wanted to be able to play with my kids and go to sporting events and have a life.
So when did you discover IV therapy?
So it was while I was at Santa Vive Medical Institute that they also believed in nutrient therapy. And while you are doing other alternative therapies along with Western medicine, it's kind of a beautiful mix of Western and holistic integrative medicine modalities all in one institute. But it was there that I discovered IV therapy. And so then when I came home, I sought out a clinic that did it locally. And there's one in Sacramento, which is about an hour away from me.
And that was a real clear shift for you then, or did that take some time to see the difference getting the right nutrients or vitamins?
It took time. It took time. Really, at that point, it was just supporting my body because I had taken so many antibiotics. My gut was just destroyed. I couldn't absorb nutrients. I wasn't holding on to water molecules. I mean, I was constantly dehydrated. Um, I had so many things still disrupting the path of cellular vibrance and uptake that it was impossible. So it was really for support at that time.
I've never been so speechless over your path. I can't even imagine going through that. And I mean, I went through my own challenging path, nothing compared to your path. I mean, and all the diverse diagnoses you had, and my gosh, people really want to be exposed to what you're sharing and know that there's a way out, there's a path forward, right?
Yeah,
You had
absolutely.
you had to know that. You knew there was a path forward. It's just a question of finding where it was, right?
Right, right. It's just a matter of finding the right tools. And that's really why I wrote the book is just look, there's so many alternatives out there that people don't know about. And
Mhm.
there's always hope. There's always hope.
You
And
really got to
it just,
try all of them, right? You got to try all of it. You never know what's going to do it, and why leave one out, right?
yeah, you don't. You don't. I mean, why stop at one anyways, I don't know. But I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person, so
So how, as we shift into your work now a little bit, but before we complete that shift, so how do you feel today? You look great, you sound great. Are you sitting there masking things, Carey, or do you really feel great too?
I feel pretty amazing, honestly. But I do rely on IV therapy to be able to function at the level that I do, because I'm very driven and passionate about reaching people now. So, and that takes a lot of energy. So I definitely still have days where there's challenges, and it's more, I think it's more as a result of my brain injury, whatnot, but it's all right. Some things didn't quite come back the way we had hoped they would. So
Keep going. You still got some time there.
Yeah,
But
you have a lot back. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's much missing.
right.
I don't know. I'd be surprised, but maybe I do mask it really well. I don't know.
Maybe your 75% is as good as everybody else's 100%.
Yeah.
True. That's true. So, Tim, did you see we have a question in the audience? And it's actually a question I want to answered as well.
Yeah, so that's true. So we got a couple there. So we go first. So you started to mention the name of your book, but I kind of cut you off because we can do that later, but we'll do it again later. So first, what is the name of your book? And
It's called the Vitality Solution.
okay. And we'll go on that a little bit more as well later. And then this is the question that we want to get into. So what made you now take this healing that you got for yourself and the joy you got from IV therapy you still get today and start your clinic? What caused you to do that? What drove you?
Well, I call it divine intervention again because during my second, I went through 3 different hyperthermia treatments to eradicate co-infections in the Lyme. It was quite a process. And it was during the second one that I don't know, something welled up in me and I thought, if I can get to a functioning level again, I really want to help people. And I just kind of looked back at, so what was in all the things I tried, and I tried everything under the sun, what one thing actually really made a huge difference, and that was IV vitamin therapy. It sustained me, it kept me alive, it gave my cells nutrients, and hydration when I needed it. And I felt that everybody had a right to it. It was kind of it was like I felt like, why don't we have this accessible to everybody? I can't even explain it, but I just felt very passionate that everybody had a right to affordable IV nutrient therapy and hydration. Why should you have to go to an emergency room to get fluids if you're
Right.
dehydrated? Makes no sense to me.
Well,
And I
before we
think
get into more details about your clinic, want to let everyone know that this episode is brought to you by Better Alt, committed to supporting and enhancing well-being. According to independent studies and PubMed.gov, it's a mouthful. This supplement can improve your energy levels, enhance cognitive function, support healthy aging, all while boosting your immune system. With 87 of the 102 trace minerals your body needs just to live. It's the #1 brand of pure Himalayan Shilajit. We get from Better Alt. It's available at thebetteralt.com, GNC, and other fine retailers. I also have a special going on in the TikTok shop for those listening on TikTok, and I'll leave a link in the show notes as well. So, Carey, we kind of went through your history of everything, all the different diagnoses, all the different challenges that you were dealing with. We talked about alternative therapies that you learned about, and then IV therapy and how well that was helping you and helping you with your own health. So now let's get into more of the business side. And as you mentioned before, that everyone should have that available to them. You know how much it helped you, and so you wanted to help others. So you mentioned building a business around that and helping others. So let's explore that a little more in detail, and tell us about the different services that you do offer at your clinic today.
Sure. So our main goal is nutrient therapy, IV therapy, and injections. That's our primary focus, and that's what sets us apart from our competition. We don't, we have other wellness services, but they are complementary and work synergistically with our IV therapy. But our goal is focusing on overall wellness. We have detox foot spa, we have red light, salt therapy, all things that kind of work together well.
So who's an ideal client or patient for you?
So, it really ranges. We have pro athletes. We have the soccer mom that's busy, has a busy schedule, entrepreneurs such as myself who has high demand of energy all the time. We see a broad range of people. We're even seeing seniors now. So people over 70. We had one day where there were nothing but men over 70 in our clinic, and it was amazing and hilarious at the same time because it was like a coffee shop, atmosphere. But they understand the importance, and as we age, we just make less nutrients. So there are various things we do, but yeah.
So in your nutrient cocktails, Carey, you don't have to give away the complete recipe, but what's in there?
So the base is B complex, magnesium, vitamin C, B12, and those are really the key nutrients. NAD has become very popular. Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
Okay. And what's that? What that do for one?
So we make less as we age. It helps us generate energy, mitochondria in the cell. And we have found recently that when you combine our red light therapy with the NAD therapy, it actually boosts the effectiveness of NAD. We have seen just incredible results with it, myself included.
What kind of results?
More energy, more stamina, kind of a longer collagen building. Your skin vitality is incredible. Resilience to infection. So it really is kind of like it's amazing.
Are there any peer review studies on this kind of therapy tracking results, beneficial results?
There are some studies being done. I would have to get back to you on who's
That's
doing
okay.
that study.
It's not that important to me because I mean I love anecdotes. I love when people discover things that work. It doesn't necessarily have to have peer review documentation for benefit, but I just was wondering if there is some.
No, there definitely is. It's NAD has a lot of scientific basis and studies being done
So
for longevity purposes for people in the aging, sector and whatnot. It has been pretty miraculous, and it also really helps. It repairs damaged cells. So the effects on the brain in a neurocognitive function,
the beauty of it is
realm.
you're getting really high concentrations of things in the bloodstream. You don't have to rely on the ability of the intestinal tract to absorb these things, and they can't absorb all that much that fast. So you're getting really high concentrations of
Yes.
things. So if you find the right kind of molecules that are beneficial, it's going to it's like a supercharger kind of.
Yeah, it's nitro.
Yeah, yeah,
Nitro for the body.
yeah.
So, Carey, we probably only have a few thousand people in the El Dorado Hills following the program. And so to reach the other millions of people that can't just walk in for your help, is there support that's virtual?
At this time, we do offer educational materials. My book, of course, is available. I'm available if people want to contact me. I am always more than happy to talk to people about alternatives and, what I did or, help them in that way.
Is can you share with us people who have come to your clinic or people you know who have had diagnosed challenges with diagnoses besides yourself, and they had a diagnosis of some condition and there was just no way to treat it, and when you implemented the IV therapy, it's like, wow, this transformed the whole situation to the benefit of the person.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had numerous people with chronic illnesses of varying from cancer to also Lyme disease, where we have been able to support them to the point they were able to make better decisions cognitively. It helped them with brain fog, helped them with stamina, and depending on what stage they're at, it could be just support, but we've seen numerous people kind of come out of the fog of whatever they've been going through to the point where they could function again.
And what if you notice with cancer? Sorry, Tim, I just wanted to
No,
interrupt.
that's all right. Go. That's the question we have in from the audience is, do you support people with cancer? And so a little bit more. So I go down that path, kind of what range, and you're not promising a cure there, you're promising support. So what have you kind of seen in that? What do you do with them? So.
Yeah, so we are at our clinic, we're very conservative. If we always make sure that if they're being treated by an oncologist, that we get the oncologist's buy-in or support of doing some type of supportive therapy. We don't ever want to interfere with any medication or what they're doing. But a lot of times we'll see people prior to going into chemotherapy and what have you. And what we have noticed is that they do better. They experience less nausea. They heal quicker on the back end. And they just tend to do better overall with whatever therapy their oncologist has given them. It depends on the cancer. There's so many variables to cancer, right? But we have really, it's been very rewarding to see these people bounce back from pretty serious things. So.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So I imagine as you talk through this and support people, somebody with cancer, you may give X amount of IV therapy to. Bob Levine, who wants to run around the country and be energetic, you give a different amount to. But somehow on that spectrum, kind of give us a little bit of how often do you think someone should come in for IV therapy? Yeah, I'll even narrow that down a little bit more. So I'm running around. I take Brett plugged his with his thing, and I take life extension vitamin here, and it's double dose that I take on there. So why should I come in and get an IV therapy, and how often should I do it? I got my B complex and my C complex. I don't think none of us got this NAC stuff that you and one of our audience members take all the time, but it's got tons of stuff in there. So why do I come, Carey?
Well, we want to support your lifestyle. We want to help you optimize your health to the best ability your body can be optimized. You're not absorbing probably a fraction of what you think you're absorbing sometimes. I don't know your health history.
Well, maybe that's why I take that's why this life extension has. You go look at a life extension bottle. It's got this still got absorb stuff, and I will get to my absorption too. But it's got quadruple the amount that your daily recommended take in there. And then I don't use the red light, but I use PEMF, which is supposed to open up the blood vessels that the capillary, the one I use two, right? Because somebody keeps wanting me to try this other one, so I tried both of them. But one I've kind of sworn by here for 8 years. It opens up blood flow at the capillary level, and so it's supposed to help on distribution and uptake. And then I'll take my vitamin 15 minutes before I get on there, so it hits the bloodstream. So come on, Carey, tell me.
Okay.
Maybe you don't have to, Tim. Not everybody has to, right?
I will say
no, come on, guys, don't save Carey. Carey's gonna have to tell me.
I'm not saving Carey. This is just science, and Dr. Bob can back me on this.
Yeah, come on.
Anything that you ingest gets cleansed, right? It's going to go through your kidneys. So you're not getting 100%, but if you get it intravenous, you're getting 100% of that vitamin.
Exactly. It's going to what cells need it.
Before you continue, Carey, I'm sorry. Carey didn't need your guys' defense. He's going to come back with an answer. I'm waiting for her to answer.
I'm just following the science. I'm just following the science.
That's all good.
Carey, I apologize for butting in on that.
No, totally fine. So I would just say, I'll tell you. So give it a try. How do you know unless you try it? Mm-hmm. And how do you know that your body is really optimized by doing what you're doing right now? What if you could dial it up 10x? What if the body is miraculous. The body is amazing, and it can do so much when you give it 100% nutrients and hydration. It's amazing what the body does. So I say, you think you're doing it all, give it a try once a month, see what happens. And you tell me next time I see you, you tell me.
It's like a booster, isn't it? It's like a boost.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, stamina, I would say stamina is the biggest thing for people over 50. I'm almost 60. Stamina has been amazing.
Okay. So how often do you have to take it? like Tim, he's like a Superman, so he maybe only needs it once a month or
Yeah.
something like that. But the average person, like me, how often would I have to come to get this boost that I would really appreciate? Do I need to come every 3 days? Do I need
No, no. Honestly, I tell people if depending on your lifestyle, what you're eating, and if you're taking vitamins or whatnot, because so many things interfere with our nutrient uptake. So depending on that, I always tell people give it a trial. Come in weekly for 4 weeks. Do that. Then back off for a couple weeks. See how you feel. Maybe back off for 3 weeks. If you're still feeling amazing, you're still sleeping well, you still have stamina, you have your brain fog is gone. It's the little things, and you will notice when you don't do it. And that's what everybody says. I notice when I'm starting to get a little depleted. I know I need to come in. Um, that's really everybody's so different. I wish there was like a miracle, like, oh, just come in once a week.
no way to predict, no way to predict. The
No.
one last question for me is, can you give our listeners a range? You don't have to give your pricing, but a range of prices what people might find in the marketplace for IV therapy. Like, is
Sure.
it?
You're probably looking at 150 onwards up to around $400 or $500. It depends on what you're doing. If you're doing the NAD therapies, those can run in the thousands. We have actually found, and those are for mega doses. We
Is
have
this per,
actually found
is this per IV treatment?
per IV. Yeah, per IV. So, but compare that to the cost of an emergency room visit. Compare that to the cost of or not supplements, medications or doctor visits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Your $250 IV in comparison to everything that you could spend
Yeah.
on your medical,
Well,
it's
also, if you can't find any answers out there, then, here it is. Let's give it a
yeah,
shot.
right. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you might have a little bit of experience in knowing what those medical bills look like, right?
a little bit.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars. Emergency room visit, $5,000. Easy.
Wow.
All right. So now we've got what the Ivy Lounge offers. It's kind of range of services, how you approach it differently. But as you alluded to, and you're available for remote consultations, what's the scope of the Vitality solution and what do you want people to get out of that?
So the Vitality solution, what I hope people get out of it is one, hope, two, that there are options out there and not to keep your mind open. It is really about alternatives. And as far as, if you're looking to start a med spa like what we have done, I would love to see more business models like ours, where they're concentrating on IV therapy, nutrient therapy, and a client's overall wellness, giving them options. So I'm available for consultation if people are looking to open up their own med spa. You can contact me at Carey@liveoptimalnow.com, or you can go to our website, ivldrip.com, and you'll find links to my book, to some free PDF guidebooks, action cards, and yeah, I hope you check it out because we want to start this movement of empowerment, empowering people to take control of their health, their mind, their journey.
Great. Now we've got another audience question here is, do you do Brown's gas treatment? Are you familiar with that?
I have never heard of such a thing. No. And here I thought I had done it all. I have not heard of that.
I don't think anybody on the planet has ever really done it all, even though we think we have.
Right.
Yes, not even the WellWaveNOW gang knows it all, Carey. So, audience member, since we've got that out there, do you want to chip in and say what is Brown's gas treatment and what you think it's good for?
Yes, Carey, thank you so much for telling your story. It's raw, but we all need to hear it, and thank you. The Brown's gas is something that I discovered because my husband has stage 4 cancer, that's sarcoma, so it's very aggressive. And so I have found something that I believe will make a difference. Brown's gas is hydrogen and oxygen in a specialized mix. It's patented and it does help people with all kinds of health issues. So I'm actually looking at it. I know someone who uses it for a gentleman who has traumatic brain injury.
Wow. That's amazing.
You may want to look it up. It's very interesting. I've been doing a lot more research, and it is something in the alternative treatment arena that I think can make a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for asking and sharing that.
You're welcome.
So, Carey, are there any other hidden nuggets that readers are going to find in your book? Is there some Easter eggs that are hidden in there, something that's transformative?
The longevity chapter is a good one to kind of dive into because it really touches on a few different things, along with mindset. Our mind is so powerful, and honestly, even through everything I went through, I am just now realizing how much power our thoughts have. Um, I didn't realize, I thought if I thought something to myself, it wasn't affecting anything, but that's some negative energy sometimes. So,
Yeah.
You
it's
take you back to your faith. You shall have whatever you say, and sometimes you're saying it to yourself. So it's whatever you say to
more
yourself.
so. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Our body hears what our mind says,
Yep.
you know.
Totally.
So you got me preaching now, Carey. So the power of life and death is in the tongue.
There you
Yes,
go. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as we wrap up our discussion today, let's talk about your journey and how you think our listeners that have heard your journey, if somebody has a struggle today, what are the next steps for them?
I would say look at everything with an open mind and try not to focus on how you're feeling. It's very hard to say, hard to do, but find that carrot that's dangling somewhere. But
Right.
there's so many alternatives.
Yeah.
Try
What's
to-
the biggest lesson that you've learned with your own ability to heal?
Oh, biggest lesson. Well, I'd go back to the mind. I didn't realize how, even though I had my faith and I was very positive all the time, I didn't realize the things I was thinking were doing damage.
It's so
You know,
powerful, Carey. It's such a powerful message for people to
yeah,
know. Most powerful messages that there is, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The
Okay.
mind is a terrible thing to waste. Don't waste it.
I've heard that somewhere before.
I know, right? I don't know where that came from, but
Well, is there anything else that our audience needs to know and hear from you?
our bodies are designed to be healthy, and you have a lot more power than you realize. You just have to find the right tools for your body to heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's that simple.
that's
Amen.
excellent. Well, Carey, your story is so powerful, and it's such a powerful reminder that we can't be defined by our diagnosis, right?
Absolutely.
And when the right tools are met with courage and action, health is possible. So, everyone that's listening, take that to heart. And Carey, thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing your journey and your story with us. It's very motivating. Your healing mission is amazing what you're doing today too. So thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Well, until next time, everyone, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, wellness, it's in you.